Welcome, gamers, to this Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past randomizer race between Lectonzi and Swagalicious. This is going to be Game 3 in a best-of-3 series. Both of these runners tied up 1-1, so this is going to be the deciding match between these two for unofficial third place in the Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament 2024. If you haven't already, you can catch the other two games in this series on my channel. I did recast both of them. I believe Swagalicious taking the first Casual Boot seed, and Lectonzi taking the second seed, I believe, which was Open, if I remember correctly. So both these runners, 1-1, we'll see what happens in this third race. And our game mode today is going to be all dungeons. So our runners are going to have to complete every dungeon in the game, which is going to include not only all 3 of the Light World dungeons and all 7 of the Dark World dungeons, but also, of course, Ganon's Tower and, most notably, Aghanim's Tower, so the Castle Tower sequence. So that will have to be required at some point. Usually the most opportune moment to do it is immediately after finishing Ganon's Tower and right before fighting Ganon, but we'll see if there is some reason that our runners will decide to do that earlier. Alright, so both our runners choosing the same start that they did in the previous game. So both of them starting at Link's house. We actually get the same routing pathing difference by Lectonzi and Swagalicious. Lectonzi going to gain just a single second from doing the Hyrule Castle secret passage check before Uncle. That is slightly more efficient, but honestly, sometimes it will just depend on the guard RNG. Although Lectonzi seems to have lost about a second on that, sitting on that menu, that title screen for a little bit of extra time. Maybe they just had to connect their tracker or something like that, I assume. But both our runners are going to start at Sanctuary, and imagine they are going to head left here to the Lost Woods checks. And we'll see if they both check the Lumberjack cave item. I personally am always inclined to do so in an all dungeon seed, as you know you're gonna have to do Aghanim anyways. So at some point, you will know that you have to complete that dungeon. And once you have your boots, you can get the item on Lumberjack Cave. Both of our runners finding bombs on the bush crab, so that is going to assure them that they have the correct enough bombs to get all the checks in Kakariko, potentially even some more for mini Moldorm Cave once they get down to there. Lectonzi, unfortunately, not really able to farm that second bush crab, but probably not a big deal as there is a third one over in the Lost Woods area. And just a piece of heart on Lumberjack Cave today, so no progression there. But of course, as I mentioned, we do still need to defeat Aghanim at some point. Alright, so Swagalicious, gonna say that 6 bombs is about enough for bush crab farms. Looks like Lectonzi is electing to be a little bit more thorough, is gonna try to farm up for a, I believe, tier 2 or perhaps tier 3 tree pull. So wants maybe a chance at getting some extra money. Swagalicious with almost a full group of bombs, and Lectonzi with the full complement of 10. We see the flippers here in the vanilla mushroom spot. So that will open up, of course, our water checks, including the hobo under the bridge, as well as what's it called, Waterfall Cave and the Zora domain checks. So Swagalicious is going to be the first into Kakariko, as Lectonzi did spend some extra time farming for those kills to get the additional tree pull and wanted to make sure that they had a full set of 10 bombs. And let's see what Kakariko has for us today. So with flippers on hand, of course Zora is in logic, so that is potentially something that our runners might have to consider in terms of whether they have the money to do that check, as that requires 500 rupees, and our runners are nowhere near that. Remember, both of them will be spending 100 rupees to check that item on the bottle vendor. Looks like we found also a glove and the blue mail over here in Blind's hideout. that glove is going to allow us to do 3 really quick checks in the back of Escape the next time that we save and quit to Sanctuary, so that might be the next stop for one or both of our runners. We've got a sword in the well. That's definitely very handy to have early on. And we get our first map check here. Looks like all 3 dungeons in the Light World are crystals, with the Desert Palace crystal being a red crystal. And of course, the crystals and pendants don't matter as much as they do in a non-all dungeon seed, because you need all 3 of those, pendants. You need to beat all the dungeons. But of course, those red crystals are still going to come into play for the Pyramid Fairy check, and those pendants are going to come into play for Sahashala, with green pendant, as well as pedestal, if there happens to be anything there. And we have the Titansmiths, actually, in Kakariko, so we're already a Moon Pearl away from Dark World access. That is pretty interesting. I imagine, with only 5 hearts, and I guess we do have a sword, but, I'm imagining, if we get our Moon Pearl anytime soon, it'll be, ooh, that's Bamos on the Library Ledge. If we get our Moon Pearl anytime soon, it'll be kind of interesting to see if our runners decide to stay in the Light World and try to scout out some more equipment, or whether they choose to just dive into the Dark World, where our progression would be pointing us. But of course, it might be a little bit dangerous to go in the Dark World, and we don't have all of the resources necessary to really make traveling around easier. We don't have a hammer, we don't have a mirror, nothing like that, so there's definitely arguments both ways. Swagalicious did scout that the Ether Medallion is on Race Game, so he's definitely going to go pick that up. 2 medallions right next to each other, actually, in the lower part of Kakariko Village. And Lectonzi also gonna elect to scout out this item first, so both runners taking the same approach to Race Game, and Lectonzi, of course, is gonna go ahead and pick up that medallion as well. I'm not sure if either of our runners will elect to use it, but I will say that Ether Medallion can actually be useful for quickly dispatching all of the mini Moldorms in Mini Moldorm Cave. Probably not something that you need to do, as, killing them with your sword is not that slow either, but the option is available, and both of our runners did pick up both of the small magic pots in Hyrule Castle Escape, so that should be something that is possible for them. It looks like Swagalicious is going to go and start on the South Shore checks, starting with the dam, and Lectonzi is going to give us those 3 chests in the back of Hyrule Castle Escape. So we'll see if there's anything interesting back there. If we find a small key back there, we could potentially head to Dark Cross from there, but we'd have to do so in the dark. We do have that Ether Medallion, so that could potentially help hunt down the Key Rat, but I'm not sure if Lectonzi will want to do that. Let's see what happens. Got a red rupee, a piece of heart, and the Cane of Burna. Oh, and it looks like the small key was actually in Sanctuary, so Lectonzi is going to go ahead and try to take down this Key Rat in the dark. Let's see if they use the Ether Medallion to help, or whether they just choose to try and do it with their sword. Looks like they're just choosing to use their sword for now. We'll see if they have any good luck. Trying to find the right rat here. In the meantime, Swagalicious... Oh, it looks like they did find the key. Very nice job by Lectonzi doing that in the dark. So we'll see if Dark Cross... it is possible that a Dark Cross could just be a map, in which case this might feel a little bit bad, but it's still actually the right decision to make, in my opinion, because getting from the back of Escape to Dark Cross is actually faster than it takes to get from the Boomerang Chest to Zelda's Cell, so assuming you do it fast enough. But in the meantime, Swagalicious headed over from the dam to Egina and grabbed the Master Sword from Egina, so that's definitely a nice pickup. It's possible that, okay, we have a heart container, Dark Cross, and yeah, you can't, even if you wanted to, I don't believe you can go to the front from there. So Lectonzi probably gonna elect to go to the dam now, and Swagalicious actually doing the front of Escape first before the back. So a little bit of a different approach. Yeah, one reason for this might be that Swagalicious might be reluctant to head into the back of Escape because it is faster to get to the back. It is faster to get, Lactansi kind of autopiloting to where they just were and realizes their mistake. Oops. Yeah, Swagalicious might be putting off the back of Escape potentially because Dark Cross is actually faster to get to from the back than the front. And he may be feeling not as confident as Lactansi in terms of finding that key rat in the dark. And it looks like what Lactansi was actually trying to do was trying to set up a Houlihan glitch. So not trying to go to the back of Escape again, trying to bomb themselves into that entrance, and that will let you access the secret room that has a bunch of blue rupees here. So Lactansi may be thinking ahead to that Zora check. We did see this in the previous game as well, I believe, where Lactansi really wanted to make sure that they had money for Zora early on in the seed. So they spent some extra time farming for that. But they're not headed there now. Of course, they don't have the 500 rupees yet. They are going to actually head to the Saha/Eastern area. Swagalicious is going to try and take care of this ball and chain guard. Looks like they're taking some extra damage, so potentially considering a Death Warp in order to get to Dark Cross. And I believe they should have the map on hand. Another sword in Zelda's Cell. Okay, so Swagalicious with Tempered Sword already. And gonna be taking that Death Warp to Dark Cross. I believe they found the map along the way here, so they know that it's a guaranteed item. Meanwhile, Lactansi finds Half Magic in the Hashirama's closet. It's very nice to have. And I assume they're going to be heading down to the dam now. Still not enough money for Zora, so I feel like if Lactansi is, well, I was going to say they could be incentivized to go left here to Agina so that they could have money for Zora once they get to Ice Rod Cave. But they could also be thinking of heading to Ice Rod Cave, saving and quitting from there, and then starting from Link's house and going to Hobo and Zora from there. So we have a couple different options about how to route this. In the meantime, Swagalicious is going to try and get to Dark Cross from the front of Escape. As I said, this is a little bit slower than what Lactansi did doing it from the back, but the nice thing is that you don't have to hunt around for the key rat in the dark, so that can actually save some time depending on how it goes. Looks like Swagalicious is in the room with the chest, just need to line it up, and kind of wiggling around here, looks like... Come on, Swagalicious. That looks good. Yeah, that looks good. Oh, I thought it looked good. I know it's in line with the arrow icon on the top of the screen there. So it looks like they're struggling just a little bit, but end up getting that heart container, and is going to continue on to the back here. Not sure if this is faster or slower if you're already at Dark Cross versus dropping in from the back. You do get to save an extra save and quit this way, so maybe this is actually faster. Not actually sure, I haven't timed that out yet. But they are going to clear out and finish those all three of those checks in the back. And it looks like Lactansi found the ice rod somewhere. I missed where that is, and there's 300 rupees in Mini Moldrum Cave, so Lactansi is all set for that Zora check. That is something that Swagalicious is probably not going to have the funds to do, so we'll see if that ends up making a difference this race. I know it did not last time, and actually it lost Lactansi some extra time because they really did spend a lot of time farming for the Zora money, I think, in one of their previous races. So we'll see if it pays off this time. Swagalicious starting at Sanctuary. Is this also a Houlihan play? So Swagalicious may be also considering that they want to have enough money. They were just at Back of Escape, weren't they? Oh, but yeah, so this is also a Houlihan play. So both runners kind of thinking the same way. I think after this, along with the 300 rupees from Mini Moldrum Cave, Swagalicious will also have the money for Zora. And there's the flute in Ice Rod Cave. It's a good thing that Lactansi did not elect to skip Ice Rod Cave this seed. That is something that I don't think I've seen Lactansi skip before, so I don't think it's, something that was ever on the table for them. But it is a slow check that some runners will elect to skip because it does take a long time to walk there. And some runners will just say, I'm going to get this whenever I get the flute later. And it's a good thing that Lectanzi did not do that, as the flute was there. I see a bottle on Lake Hylia. We'll see if that ends up being relevant later on. And Lectanzi gonna go swim to Ho-Oh, and I imagine they're probably gonna flute to the Zora area once they get out of here. Swagalicious is gonna find their 300 rubies in Mini Moldham Cave, so they will, as I mentioned, have enough money for Zora as well. So basically it looks like Lectanzi is actually ahead of Swagalicious right now, having also done the checks in Saha's closet. But the one thing that Lectanzi has not done is get that additional sword out of Agina. And they, right, that's right, they also haven't done Front of Escape yet, so that's actually what's making up the lion's share of this time difference. And that is also why they don't have, there's another sword there in Zelda's Cell. Alright, as expected, Lectanzi gonna go ahead and show us the rest of these flipper checks. I will say, if we end up getting our pearl, our moon pearl, we don't have a lot of other things left in the light world to do. We've got 1 or 2 checks up that we can do on the mountain. I guess Lectanzi still has to do the Front of Escape. And we have that shovel dig spot that we can do on both sides. But other than that, we'd like to avoid stepping into Eastern Palace with that bow if we can help it. So I imagine as soon as we find our Moon Pearl, both of our runners probably gonna just head straight to the Dark World portal above Kakariko and see what they want to do from there. Although actually that's not true. Once we get our Moon Pearl, we actually have access to Mire Shed, so that could be a nice stop to do before heading into the Dark World proper. No Moon Pearl on Zora, just a Heart Container. And Lectanzi, I imagine this is probably the time to check the shovel dig spot. Yeah, it's close, pretty close to Link's house. So you might as well do that first, and then yeah, it's between going up the mountain or diving into Eastern Palace, I think, for Lectanzi. Oh wait, no, I keep on forgetting Lectanzi hasn't done Front of Escape, so I imagine that's actually going to be the next priority for them. And Swagalicious giving up the swim as well. I think both runners actually not electing... Oh, we know where all 3 medallions are now. Okay, that's pretty cool. I think both runners actually electing not to use the flute to get from Ho-Oh to the Zora. Zora's domain. I think that would have saved a little bit of time, but... And Lectanzi is going to go activate their flute from here. Okay, this makes perfect sense. Oh, of course, because we haven't activated our flute on both sides. I'm missing all these obvious, really obvious things. Good thing I'm not running this seed. Alright, so Lectanzi activating the flute. Swagalicious gonna go get that heart container off of Zora, and then I imagine probably is gonna do the same thing that Lectanzi is right now. It makes sense to just check the shovel dig spot on the way to activating the flute. Some nice efficiency there. Alright, Lectanzi making use of a little trick to quick swap off and on the flute to allow you to use it a little bit faster. They're actually going to check Agina and get that other sword. I like this play, actually. This is actually something that I've talked personally with Lectanzi about in terms of feeling free to check Agina as soon as you have the flute on hand, because it does feel like kind of a one-off check, but you kind of might feel a little bit incentivized to try and combo it with Desert Palace, but if you think about it, sometimes getting from Desert Palace to Agina, to the Agina check is kind of awkward, so might not actually be that bad to just do Agina as its own separate thing. Looks like Swagalicious is actually routing this a little bit different, so is gonna start from Sanctuary, so not gonna route in that shovel dig spot. We'll see if they walk there from here, or whether they just choose to complete that at a different time. And Lectanzi actually not gonna do the Front of Escape, gonna do the checks on the mountain instead. This isn't really gonna matter, as we know the only thing in the Front of Escape is another sword. I do feel like, you know, from like Tanzi's point of view, there could be, you know, the hook shot or the mirror in the front of escape, so that could be an argument for doing front of escape before this. The only reason you would want to put off front escape is if you are concerned that you might have to do Aghanim for Dark World access, which is still technically possible. Doing Aghanim is out of logic right now without a lamp, but does put Pyramid Ledge into logic, and it's possible that our Moon Pearl could be there. I certainly hope not, but it wouldn't actually be the worst thing, as, you know, it is all dungeons. We need to finish Aga's tower at some point, so it would be kind of a bummer to have to do it now as kind of a boring part in the middle of the seed, but maybe it's better to get that out of the way earlier rather than later. And there's our Moon Pearl in Spectacle Rock Cave, so Tanzi definitely gonna pick that up right now. And that is gonna give Tanzi Dark World access. You see Tanzi, their tracker briefly flashed green. That was them, I believe, clicking the Moon Pearl. You see it again. So that's them just, clicking that on their tracker and seeing what they have access to already, which is a good amount. Of course, we don't have access to the rest of the mountain right now. Actually surprised they didn't just loot out of there, but I guess it does take some extra time to walk out of that cave. Yeah, so actually this might be faster. So the question is, does Tanzi want to finish up the front of escape before going to the Dark World? And they do not. So they're going to be missing out on that Tempered Sword, which is not a huge deal, honestly, so I don't think it's going to hurt them that much. I think if I was in Tanzi's shoes, I'd probably be a little bit concerned that, maybe I'm leaving behind the mirror or the hammer there in front of escape, but we all know that it's just a sword, so not really going to be as relevant. Alright, looks like our pendant dungeons are going to be Ice Palace, Thieves Town, and Skull Woods, and our other red crystal, which is actually more relevant right now, is going to be Palace of Darkness. And it looks like the green pendant one is at Thieves Town, so it'll be interesting to see. Of course, it is all dungeons. Have to keep reminding us of that, because otherwise I'll just think it's an open seed and wonder why our runners are going independent dungeons. But it is an all dungeon seed, so we're going to have to beat Thieves Town at some point. But there is a small risk associated with diving into Thieves Town here, as we don't have the hammer, so we won't be able to get whatever's in the big chest. Now, sometimes it's just a map or a compass, so it might not be relevant, but that is a risk of going into Thieves Town here. So we'll see if Tanzi decides to do it. It is a green pendant, so it is a little bit more, worthwhile than it might otherwise be. And that green pendant turn-in also a little bit more easy than normal to do, as we have that flute on hand, so that's going to make traveling to Sahasrahla slightly faster, although not even that much faster. Depends on whether you're doing a save and quit as well. And Tanzi, choosing to head into Thieves Town, so I imagine this is going to be a full clear here. I don't think it makes much sense to just do the front 4 chests here. We do find the magic powder in C-shaped house for both of our winners, so in addition to being a nice little safety item there, it is also potentially going to let us check magic bat later on, but of course we're missing a hammer or a mirror to do that. And Swagalicious also going to do Thieves Town. I do think this is the more expected play. You can full clear this dungeon, minus this big chest, and I think if there is something important in the big chest, you can kind of assume that your opponent is also missing it, so it's not really that bad of a location to get burned by here. As you're watching these two runners, I do encourage you to give both of them a follow on their Twitch channels. Hopefully you've been enjoying this 3-game series. I'm happy to be able to recast and rebroadcast all 3 of the games in this series, kind of giving you some continuity as opposed to just watching one-off matches. And maybe you have some stakes, some perceived stakes in this match, so we'll see who ends up taking home the 3rd place victory. Right, Tanzi now finds himself in the kind of hellway room of Thieves Town. Both our runners do have plenty of health, so I'm not super worried about them, and if really need be, we can use the powder as Lectonzi looks to be lining up for. Unfortunately, that anti-fairy getting kind of trapped behind those pegs, but that's fine. Lectonzi will most likely have a chance to get a fairy on the way back down, as that anti-fairy will respawn. So I guess as we're completing this dungeon, if we're both of these runners, I assume are just going to continue on, you know, this entire big Dark World loop. So going to do Dig Game and Stumpy and Hype Cave. The one question will be whether they elect to pick up the Smith, you know, that frog. I think so. If you want to pick up the Smith, that means you are committing to, you know, doing a save and quit and then heading back to Kakariko in order to get the item from rescuing the blacksmiths. So, you know, you won't really be able to go many other places with the Smith in tow. You can't go into any dungeons. So it is a bit of a commitment, but I imagine that's probably going to be a pretty easy pill for both of these runners to swallow, as we do have a flute on hand. So just fluting back to Kakariko, you know, after a save and quit seems pretty reasonable. So I expect to see that here. A little bit surprised that neither runner decided to check out what's in Misery Mire shed right now. I guess it is only 2 items, so our runners could be, you know, hoping to get to that area later on when we potentially have the mirror on hand to maybe get into Desert Palace and Checkerboard Cave. So that's kind of a reasonable argument to put that off. It does look like that if Lectonzi's tracker is correct, we are leaving an item behind in the Thieves Town big chest. So that is probably going to be a factor on both of these runners' minds. Nothing they can really do about it. Even if we get our hammer at some point, you know, that's just one chest buried deep in this dungeon. So probably not going to go back for it anytime soon. Probably going to be a near last location. So hopefully there's nothing important there. And there is our first dungeon complete by Lectonzi at the 27 minute mark. Both runners having a little bit of trouble on this blind script. Not in any danger of dying, of course, but I do think I saw accidental spin slashes on both sides, so that is going to lose a little bit of time, but both runners finishing the fight just fine, and are going to take their Piece of Heart from Blind as well as that green pendant. And I imagine the next time that we find ourselves in the light world, we're going to probably make a trip over to Sahasrahla at some point to go grab that. I do believe Swagalicious, if I remember correctly, hasn't actually checked the 3 items in the back of Saha's closet as well, so that could be some good efficiency for him to do all of that at the same time. Okay, Lectonzi gonna give us the game. You want to do this first regardless of whether or not you are picking up the Frog Smith, because NPC won't let you play the dig game if you have a follower. And money is not really concerned for either of our runners. They both checked Sora and they have enough money for Palace of Darkness entry, so not too important what we dig up here. And Lectonzi makes it out of the dig game before the timer can elapse. That's always a good feeling. So are they going to go pick up the Smith here? Looks like they are, as expected. Yeah, as I mentioned, this really is not that big of a cost when you have the flute on hand. I think without the flute, it's a different story, because then you have to make a complete separate walk over to Kakariko, and if you only do that for just the Smith, that doesn't seem that appealing. And Swagalicious also making it out of the screen without having to run into that text box that happens when the timer runs to 0. Very nice. Swagalicious also going to go fetch the frog here, take them on a tour of the Dark World. So as we get further and further into this Dark World loop, we kind of want to keep going as far as we can, in my opinion. So from Hype Cave, we'll see if both of these runners are aware of this, but from Hype Cave, you can actually jump in the water and swim. So you can't, obviously can't get across the hammer pegs bridge because we don't have a hammer, but you can use the flippers and swim around to get to Pyramid Ledge. Could even get into Palace of Darkness, although I'm not sure if that is something our runners will want to do, but I think at the very least, Pyramid Ledge and Catfish might be good consideration as, okay, Lectonzi's gonna say no. I'm gonna say the only thing, like, yeah, it's not exactly fast, but if you want to get to Pyramid Ledge now, think about how long it takes, right? So I would really hate for the hammer to be at Pyramid Ledge, you know, for Lectonzi. Like, you have to remember, we only have Mitt's Darkworld access, so in order to get to Pyramid Ledge, you're gonna have to start at the Kakariko portal and walk all the way around. Now, whenever we beat Aga's Tower, we will have an additional Darkworld portal, so maybe that's not the end of the world. Of course, we can't really do that easily without a light source, but maybe that is an argument for just skipping those slower checks for now. Swaglish is accidentally freezing that guard with the medallion there. Oops. But Swaglish is actually going to make the same decision, so not continuing on with those Dark World checks, and is going to turn to the Smith, and looks like Lectonzi is going to follow up on Mireshed now. It would feel really bad to find the mirror here, actually, as that would have allowed you to, you know, do Cave 45 as well as, you know, Purple Chest along the way. Okay, looks like the Mireshed is Quake, so we do have access to that. Fortunately, we cannot actually do anything in Misery Mire without the boots with the hookshot. And it's going to be 10 arrows and a bow in Mireshed. Okay, interesting. So that's going to be a full clearable Eastern Palace. It is going to be out of logic without a lamp. But I imagine that is going to be the next stop for Lectonzi. Swagalicious, on the other hand, after turning in the Smith, is going to head back into this Kakariko portal. Could this be checking the Skull Roots, potentially? Oh, looks like not. Is Swagalicious actually going to follow up on Purple Chest? So Swagalicious is actually going to, I think, commit to Purple Chest here. This is a pretty slow one-off check, but, you know, it could pay off. I don't hate this. You already spent the time to, you know, rescue the Smith, and you're already here in Kakariko, so obviously you'd love to be able to combo this with something else, whether it's, you know, Magic Bat or Hammer Pegs, but if you're gonna do it as a one-off, now's the time. We do get to Flute to the Dam, and that will save us a little bit of that time in terms of turning in the Purple Chest, so see if there's anything important on there. And Lectonzi, as expected, is going to head into Eastern Palace. Some of the checks in Eastern Palace are going to be in logic, some of them are not. Just 50 rupees on Purple Chest, so unfortunately, Swaglish is going to be a little bit behind after that, but they are, looks like they are going to find their bow out of Mireshed. So going to be chasing behind Lectonzi still. Remember, Lectonzi still has to complete, still is, doesn't have that sword out of the front escape. Now, of course, it's not required to complete the game, but it is something that is left for them that's outstanding. But the boots are here in Eastern Palace. That's a very nice find. I do wonder if Lectonzi and Swagalicious might feel a little bit, you know, a little twinge of regret seeing those boots in Eastern Palace here, as you know, you could have fluted to Misery Mireshed as your first foray into the Dark World, found your bow there, and then head straight to Eastern, and you would have been able to do all of Thieves Town as well as, you know, get to Hype Cave with the boots on hand, and that obviously would have been faster than having to walk the whole way. So I wonder if that's going to be a consideration on either or both of these runners' minds, but of course I can't say for sure, can't tell what they're thinking. Okay, Lectonzi going to try and do the quick kill strat for the Stalfos room. Nice strat there, using a single pot and some sword beams. Okay, there's the big key, so whatever is in the big chest is going to be in logic here, but everything else in the dungeon is going to be out of logic. But of course, both of these runners I do fully expect to be able to do the dark rooms in this dungeon. Looks like there's just one item left here in Eastern Palace. So Lictanzi did have a choice there of heading straight to Armos Knights and getting the I guess, crystal off of Armos Knights and seeing whether the remaining item happened to be there as well. But Lictanzi choosing to play it thorough and check the vanilla big key chest, so not wanting to gamble on that 50-50. I wonder. So having known and mentored Lictanzi, I do think they in general do like to take that 50-50 gamble. But I wonder if part of the reason for doing this is that we still have the green pendant to turn in after this. Okay, and it looks like that choice worked out for them today. So that last item was in the vanilla big key chest. But yeah, as I was saying, I wonder. Oh, a very nice 3 arrow setup by Swagalicious. I do believe that strat is very slightly faster, but we're just talking about frames of difference, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I wonder if Lictanzi... Oh, actually, Lictanzi entering this dark room here, I do believe this was kind of a sore spot in the previous seed. Had a lot of trouble finding the Mimic, but gets it almost right away this time. Okay, being very careful here. And gets the Mimic, gets knocked out of the way, but still finds the key in the dark. And Swagalicious is also going to choose to take the same approach towards the 50-50 situation here. I will say I personally almost always take the 50-50 gamble, but this, like I was saying, this is one case in which I maybe wouldn't, because if I lose the 50-50, I do like to go back into the dungeon for the vanilla big key chest, and the problem is we still want to turn in that green pendant to Saha, and we don't have the mirror, so we'd have to take a death warp there, and that can be really awkward, so... Alright, Lictanzi entering their fight with the Armos Knights. Let's see if they can set up for a quick kill. Swagalicious just getting a little bit low on health, might want to pick up some extra hearts. Okay, looks good so far for Lictanzi. Just have to keep on shooting arrows here. Who's down? Oh, didn't adjust their position quite the right way, but still cleans up the fight regardless. And yeah, Swagalicious is going to take a few extra seconds to hop in and grab a fairy here. You're about to head into a dark room. Usually it goes okay, but sometimes things can go wrong and you don't want to take death here for sure. Swagalicious already having taken a kind of costly death in game 2 actually against Argus. Nice, Swagalicious actually firing the arrow from the right. Kind of a more advanced strat, I would say. Still manages to get it. So Lictanzi is going to pick up their Bombless Medallion here. This isn't really needed for anything unless we're considering going to Ice Palace, which I assume we're not, right? Because we don't have a hammer. I imagine the next priority is going to be King's Tomb and Bonk's Rocks, I would probably have to assume. Yeah, this looks like King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks, if I had to say, on Lictanzi's side. But we've got all 3 medallions on hand, so that's always nice to see. Okay, Swagalicious entering their fight with the Armos Knights. Let's see if they can pull off the quick kill setup. Both runners using the same top right quick kill setup. This is the most common one. Oh, and unfortunately, Swagalicious adjusts their position a little bit too well and actually gets a little bit too far down. Unfortunately, gets knocked back by the Armos Knights. So both runners having about the same performance in that fight. Okay, and we're actually starting to run low on possible locations here. I wonder if there could be something lying on Pyramid Ledge or Catfish. And okay, there's a bottle. So we got, not only do we have a fairy, but we have a Sick Kid that we can follow up on here. And Swagalicious is going to go ahead and grab their half magic from the back of Saha's closet, as well as turn in this green pendant. Lictanzi still had the front of escape outstanding, and I have to imagine It's getting time to go and do that. And this is kind of an interesting spot. I don't know if Lictani will do this, but you actually have the opportunity to do Aga's Tower out of logic here. Now it wouldn't be the easiest thing in the world, as you'd have to do it without any fire rod or lamp. And you know, there are some rooms in Aga's Tower. There's one room in particular with a bunch of pits that you can fall into, so it's not very easy. But if you do that, you'd have a much easier time getting to, you know, Pyramid Ledge, Palace of Darkness, and Catfish. So that is an option here. Of course, we would have to Death Warp from Zelda's Cell after getting the Tempered Sword in order to do that. So we'll see if Lictani elects to make that play. If not, I think the only other thing we can do besides heading into Ice Palace, which... You know, heading to Ice Palace seems crazy, but it might not actually be the worst thing without the hammer. Our access to Ice Palace kind of sucks in terms of, you know, how much we can do in there, but if there is a seed to do Hammerless Ice, I feel like it might be this one, if you are not committing to do Dark Aga in the dark. Because if you're not doing Aga here as Lictanzi, and you're not doing Ice Palace, you pretty much just have to start. You just pretty much have to go to the Sanctuary portal, and then dash all the way to the Catfish, right? Although I guess neither of our runners have checked Skull Woods either, so maybe that's the next step for Lictanzi. Now that I think about it, Lictanzi, of course, also has the purple chest outstanding. It's a Swagalicious. Okay, Lictanzi not going to do Aga. Not surprising. If you're not practiced with Dark Aga, it's not something I would recommend. Swagalicious going to be the first one into checking Skull Woods, and Lictanzi finally going to pay back that time for having skipped from Escape, and is going to be a little bit behind Swagalicious actually here. Swagalicious also having done Purple Chest, so yeah, just having come out ahead after all of this, I believe. I don't think has there been anything that Lictanzi has done that Swagalicious hasn't done? I guess, yeah, no, both runners have been up the mountain. They both finished up Escape as well, so yeah, I think Swagalicious, when all is said is done here, is going to find themselves a little bit ahead here. Okay, grabbing a small key in that chest in the middle of Skull Woods here, and gonna probably use that to more easily check everything in the front. Lictanzi having the boomerang out gets put in a little bit of an awkward situation by that Wall Master, unfortunate. Okay, and a heart container is our first item in Skull Woods, so only one item left here in the dungeon. We'll see whether it is here in the front or whether it's just in the back, locked by that fire rod. There's the big key, so that is going to let us probably do a bomb jump to the big chest. And here Swagalicious is checking the item in the pinball room, called so because the layout of bumpers here is kind of like a pinball machine, and sometimes the Gibdos actually kind of play pinball here. That chest, actually, in older versions of the Logic, some trivia for you, used to always be a guaranteed small key, but that has been changed. At least in the main branch of the randomizer. I believe in SMZ3 it is actually still always a small key, so a little bit of trivia for you guys. But it looks like we're just going to be satisfied with the one item here in Skull Woods. It looks like that other item is locked by the fire rod in the back. So I believe Swagalicious is probably going to go ahead and dash all the way over to Catfish here. And I imagine Lictanzi is probably going to follow suit based on... I mean, I expect him to make the same decision as they're in the same place. Lictanzi choosing to just stay here and wait for the Wall Master to teleport them back to the front of the dungeon. I think Swagalicious elected instead to dash over. I'm not sure which way is faster. that's one of those things that I think is often hard to intuit because it always feels like things are slower when you're just standing still and waiting for something, both in video games and in real life. So, ooh, Spikelet is actually making some pretty nice use of a water walk there to avoid swimming. It doesn't really save that much time, but if you know how to set it up, it does mean you get to avoid swimming, and you just get to dash across the water instead. So just a little bit of fancy movement tech there. Appreciate seeing that. Would be a little bit more relevant if we didn't have flippers on hand. Of course, you can still do a bomb jump across the river, but that does take a little bit of precision to set up. So many runners will, if they don't have the flippers, elect to set up a water walk if they do have the boots on hand. So you can set that up in Skullwoods. But as you can see, like Tanzi, just making that swim, it's not like that really takes that much extra time. So nothing at Catfish, and I imagine both our runners are going to check Pyramid Ledge first, and then probably head over to Palace of Darkness. We have a bow, of course, so even if Palace of Darkness, even if the first chest is not a small key, we can still continue on, and not everything in the dungeon is going to be in logic, of course, without a lamp, but I have plenty of checks that are. And the only other choice here is Ice Palace without a hammer. And I think that is probably going to be last on our list. I guess besides Purple Chest for Lectanzi, because they still haven't checked that. Ooh, nice spin speed by Lectanzi. That is not an easy one to pull off, especially on that screen, as if you accidentally go too far and touch a ledge, you'll jump off instantly. So very good use of that boomerang as well to stun that Ropa enemy. Very nice. Okay, so as expected, Swagler's just going to go ahead to Palace of Darkness after picking up the heart container on Pyramid Ledge. And we'll see what Palace of Darkness has for us today. So for hammers here, then you're feeling lovely as you just get to finish this dungeon, and then you've got your nice Dark World access. Let's see, what else could we find here that would be interesting? If we find the hammer, I imagine the next play would also be Ice Palace, because that would be, full clearable. If we find a... I guess I just realized we have, since we have the boots now, we actually have access to Misery Mire. So there's actually some pretty gross locations that our progression could be in terms of Ice Palace without the hammer, Misery Mire without any fire sources or Somaria. But it looks like we have our Fire Rod as the first chest in Palace of Darkness. That is... I mean, it's a great item to have, but it does also open up that one chest in Skullwoods. I mean, it's not that big of a deal because we can just flute back to Skullwoods at some point, probably after this, actually, if we don't find anything. We know we have to finish that dungeon at some point anyways, and we know there's an item hanging out back there, so... Just kind of sucks to have to just do that as like a one-off check, but I suppose you might as well do it now. Assuming there's nothing else in here, but we'll see. Okay, very nice dash down all of the conveyors. Okay. Oh, and Swanglish is actually having the foresight to set up for a Death Warp here, so taking some damage ahead of time, intentionally. You want to take extra damage on those spikes, because spikes always do a full heart of damage to you, whereas depending on your armor, you can see that these red jellies only do half a heart of damage, so very nice thinking ahead by Spikelicious. Unfortunately, forgets to think ahead about the fairy in the bottle. That is... you hate to see it. I'm gonna have to walk back and take some more damage from the spikes. Maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, but I wonder if Lectanzi's gonna do the same thing. Okay, let's see. Unfortunately, Lectanzi not quite getting that dash in the conveyor room. and is not going to take damage beforehand. I mean, it is true that, you know, your hammer could also be sitting here, and then you'll feel really silly for having damage yourself back to 1 heart. But Lectanzi gonna find just the small key here, and is gonna go back to do the Death Warp. Now, are they gonna remember that they have a fairy in a bottle? They're cycling through their inventory. Oh no. Well, Lectanzi, you didn't lose any time on this. Fortunately enough. Oh, no, it did look like they emptied their bottle. Okay, very nice. They're very nice, Lectanzi. I stand corrected. It looks like they were just quick swapping and doing it earlier. So, also very nice. So both runners having different types of foresight there. Alright, so Swagalicious is going to be checking these chests in the Dark Maze of Pod. These chests are going to be out of logic, but of course we still want to do them while we're here. Oh, not the Dark Maze, sorry. Swagalicious was just in the basement there. Now going to do the Dark Maze, and going to start things off with a Hammer Bomb Jump. It does mean that they will have to navigate the Dark Maze kind of backwards, but I assume if they're doing this, they do know how to navigate it both ways in the dark. Taking quite a few pauses to get this lineup. Looks like they got it that time, nice. And just 300 rupees on the big chest. And Swagalicious is paused. I assume this is them bringing up a map reference for navigating this dark room. I actually wonder if he knows how to route this room normally, but not backwards from the big chest, in which case, if you only know how to route it one way, I kind of recommend you not do the bomb jump, right? But it could just be that they just don't know how to do this room in the dark by memory, in which case looking up a reference is a fine and perfectly legal solution there. Lectanzi, unfortunately missing the torch twice there. Feels a little silly. Okay, and Swagalicious making their way through this. Okay, has to pause. Hopefully they make it through this all right. They do have some medallions on hand if they want to defeat all the enemies here. Might not be a bad idea, but looks like they are on their way, and that, I think, is the last chest, so they are done here. And looks like all we got out of this dungeon was that fire rod, which is, to be fair, is not nothing. You can take that and go use it in Skull Woods. It's probably what Swagalicious is going to do right now, I have to imagine. Yep. Potentially puts more of Misery Mire into logic, though, I will say. So, if our single item in Skull Woods is nothing, our runners will have the lovely choice of heading to Misery Mire without Samaria, or Ice Palace without a hammer. That's a choice that I really would not wish upon anyone, actually. Yeah, I wonder what our runners will choose when they're put into that situation. I hope for their sake that they're not, but, you know, we'll have to see. I wasn't actually... I have admittedly completely forgotten the layout here in Skull Woods. Let's see. Because there is actually a relevant piece of key logic here in this situation, which is that Mothula cannot have a small key. I don't actually know if we have both the map and compass ready, though. So, yeah, I guess I don't have enough information to know for sure. But it is possible that a piece of key logic could be recorded here. But Swagalicious is choosing to do Mothula first. I think this is perfectly reasonable anyways. Yeah, actually, you would do this anyways because there's only one item left, so... Key logic doesn't actually matter here, because we know we have to defeat Mothula regardless. Swagalicious taking a lot of hits here. That can't be intentional, right? Yeah, so they're gonna have to be a little bit careful on their Mothula fight. Picking up that extra heart in that pot, good idea. We do have half magic and tempered sword, so not going to be a terrible fight here. We also have the Cane of Berna, although I don't know if I'd recommend using that. Swagless just tries a spin. That is actually not a great idea, as spins actually... Mothula is actually invulnerable to spins. And yeah, you can see the problem with Berna here. Okay, I was going to say you can see the problem with Berna, as it tends to knock Mothula into the spikes, but never mind, I stand corrected. Swagless just actually made pretty good use of that. And it's just a piece of heart on Mothula, so Skull Woods was not the answer. And it's time for Swagalicious to make a choice between Mire and Ice Palace. Okay, like Tansi has plenty of health here, so doesn't need to use Cane of Berna or anything like that. Where is Swagalicious heading? My bet is going to be Mire, but Swagalicious could prove me wrong. Alright, this is Mire. This is probably what I would do too. I think maybe, like, if you think about it, Ice Palace potentially has more checks in logic, maybe, but like we don't have the Cane of Samaria, so Ice Palace is kind of slow if you have to do the bomb jump. Lactanzi going to fall a little bit further behind here, as they are electing to check Purple Chest here. I certainly don't blame them for this, as they like we were saying, you know, their other options are not the greatest. So doing Purple Chest here first makes perfect sense. Unfortunately, we already know it's nothing, so it's gonna leave them a little bit further behind Swagalicious. Interesting to see how far this lead has actually grown between these two runners, considering that they've done the same set of checks, actually, at this point. They've just gotten to it in different ways, so I think a few different routing decisions by Swagalicious, you know, doing a few things together, but I want to imagine that some of it is just maybe execution? I don't know. It's probably just gonna... I haven't noticed anything major, honestly, so I think it's just gonna be little things. And there's the mirror in Misery Mire here. So it looks like this was the right place to go. Well, of course, I'm assuming that, you know, like, our hammer is not in Ice Palace or anything like that. Knock on wood. But, yeah, that mirror is going to give us access to, let's see, Tower of Hera, as well as, what's it called, the K45. Would have been nice to have that mirror on hand earlier for, you know, doing the Smith's turn-in and Purple Chest, but nothing we can do about that now. Interestingly enough, that mirror also gives us access to the Magic Bat check. I wonder if that's going to be something that's done as one-off before heading up the mountain, potentially? Oh, Swagalicious, unfortunately, not having enough magic for that room. Swagalicious, there is a full magic available before cutscene chest. Okay, now remembering about that full magic. That is... ooh, only on 2 hearts. Has to be a little bit careful. Okay. That is something that can happen in Misery Mire, not having enough magic for these torches. Often, if you use an invincibility item here on the spike chest that Swagalicious collected earlier. Ooh, nice strat, having the sword held out to prevent that tile from doing damage. Some nice execution by Swagalicious. But yeah, Swagalicious elected to use the Cane of Berna to avoid taking some extra damage in the room that Lactanzi is in right now. And I think that made the difference as far as not having enough magic. I mean, I certainly don't blame them, as, you know, they are only at 2 hearts right now, so it's a good thing that they did, but unfortunately it caused them to have to take a little detour to, you know, get the magic. Looks like Lactanzi will be fine as far as the magic situation goes, though, so gonna be able to make back a little bit of this time. There's a big key in the so-called cutscene chest. Swagalicious leaving the dungeon. Did we find both items already? What was in Compass chest? It was the other item. Okay, so looks like Swagalicious just wanted to search for the big chest while they were there. I like that by Swagalicious, actually. Like Tanzi just electing to leave after finding the second item, but I like Swagalicious thinking ahead, knowing that you have to come back there and defeat. And there's the hammer on Checkerboard Cave. Okay, so Misery Mire area, definitely the right place to go. I imagine like Tanzi's going to grab that, but is going to finish out Desert Palace first. Okay, so now the world's kind of wide open now that we have both the mirror and the hammer. So that's going to open up the full clearable Ice Palace as well as East Death Mountain. And yeah. But as I was saying, I like Swagalicious' decision to get that big chest. We saw that it was in a cutscene chest. So like Tanzi, when they go back in, is going to have to, you know, do that, and it's going to take a little bit further to get there from the entrance of Misery Mire rather than what Swagalicious did. Could also depend on what Lactanzi chooses to do as far as Misery Mire routing goes. But the problem with it is that the right side, you know, if you want to get to Map Chest, for example, you have to go and hit the Crystal Switch again. And Swagalicious, you know, smartly choosing to check the rest of the item checks for that big key while they still have the Crystal Switch flipped. There's the lamp here in Desert Palace, so no more dark rooms needed for us. It's gonna let us do Aghanim's Tower much more easily. Ooh, like Tansy, unfortunately missing that key dash. Not sure what happened there. Maybe the dash turn wasn't clean, or some pixel alignment wasn't off. So it looks, I know it looks like Lactanzi has regained the lead, but remember that's because Swagalicious did spend that additional minute or so getting the big key off of cutscene chest. So that is time that Lactanzi will have to pay back later. And Lactanzi also still needs to pick up their hammer from Checkerboard Cave. I don't really know if it's faster to check Checkerboard Cave before finishing Desert or after finishing Desert. Probably not that big of a difference. It's something I admittedly haven't timed out yet. But okay, Lactanzi gonna enter the fight with Lanmos. It's gonna be 2 Fire Rod hits or a Tempered Sword spin for each one of them. Looks like we're gonna have to settle for a 2-cycle here. Oh, misses that Fire Rod shot. Just needed one more hit on that Lanmo, unfortunately, so we're gonna have to settle for a 3-cycle. So Swagalicious just trying to use only Fire Rod shots here. I can't imagine. Okay, are they gonna get a 2-cycle here? Oh, shoots a little bit early. I think they had that if they didn't shoot that Fire Rod shot just a little bit too early. So both runners getting a 3-cycle on that Lanmo fight. And Lactanzi gonna go ahead and step back in the portal. Gonna go pick up their hammer. And we'll see where Swagalicious chooses to go. We want to full clear a dungeon. We have Palace of Darkness, which has still one more item, as well as the other red crystal. So I think that would be my vote. You know, there's nothing, like Palace of Darkness is essentially just a standalone check right now. We've already done Eastern Palace, we've already done Green Pendant Turn-In, so there is literally nothing we can come up with. So that would actually be my first choice. But so English is choosing to go up the mountain instead, so wants to follow up on Hera, as well as probably use the hammer to go across this bridge. Let's see what Lactanzi chooses. Also going up the mountain, so both these runners on the same wavelength. We also have the option of going to Ice Palace to full clear that, but I can understand not wanting to go to Ice Palace because that dungeon does get quite a bit faster if you have the Cane of Samaria on hand. And there's the hook shot. Very nice. I think we almost thought we were going to have to climb up Tower of Hera the vanilla way, but that hook shot in the lobby Gonna ensure that we can just do a Harapot clip here. Very nice. Of course, we don't have the big key as it is in the basement. So we're going to be able to save a lot of time not having to grab that. And it looks like there is no item in the big chest, as that is the second item over there, that piece of heart. So nothing left in Tower of Hera. And I am happy to see that Lectanzi did not soft lock there. I do believe that happened to them in Game 1, if I'm not mistaken. Lectanzi looks like they have forgotten that they don't have the big key, so they'll lose a few seconds there, but no big deal. Very nice Smoldern fight by Swagalicious. And with that hookshot on hand, we're going to be able to clear out everything here on the mountain, including Hookshot Cave, Super Bunny Cave, and Spike Cave. The only thing we can't do is Turtle Rock, until we find that Cane of Samaria. Okay, Lectanzi gets the initial spin, just needs one more slash to finish it out. Very nice fight. Okay, and Swagalicious going down through Spiral Cave, didn't even bother to check Floating Island. That's probably actually correct to do here, because you can always check it after doing Paradox Cave on the way to the Turtle Rock portal. Or I assume that's what their routing is going to be, but I guess we'll see. Spiral Cave just has a piece of heart. Both of our runners looking very healthy right now, with 13 hearts apiece. Lectanzi still not having that blue mail. I have already forgotten where that is, actually. Looks like that... No, Lectanzi already checked purple chest. Yeah, admittedly don't remember where that blue mail upgrade was. And the silvers in Paradox Cave. Definitely a nice pickup. Lectanzi choosing to route this a little bit differently, choosing to hop straight into the Dark World, is going to open up that Turtle Rock entrance. Of course, we know we have to do that at some point, so you might as well do it now. And I think Lectanzi going to route these Paradox Cave, Super Bunny Cave checks in a different order here. So we're going to do the Dark World checks first, and then I assume is going to follow up with the Light World checks afterward. Not sure which one of these paths is faster, but I guess we'll find out. I will say on Swagalicious's side, I do appreciate that since he's going to be finishing off... Okay, just a heart container on Floating Island. Okay, he's really getting bullied by these dead rocks. Oh my gosh, can you please let him through? Thank you. I do appreciate that on Swagalicious's side. He will be in the Dark World to end with, so once he finishes Super Bunny Cave and Hookshot Cave, he can just dash over and then finish off with Spike Cave. I mean, I guess it's not really that much different if you dash over the Light World either. You can just hop into the portal right below Hera, so maybe not that big of a difference, but we'll see. Who ends up ahead after all this? Sometimes it can be very hard to tell which order of doing things is fastest in Death Mountain, because there's just so many different permutations. I've attempted to figure it out sometimes, but you can only figure out specific cases, and sometimes you just kind of have to play by intuition, I think. And looks like both these runners have, different ideas on what's going to be fastest here. Of course, it's a little bit hard to tell because both of our runners did start these chain of checks at slightly different times. But we'll see how this ends up working out. I do feel like Swagalicious is going to finish first, but I think he was also ahead to begin with, so hard to say. But so far, not really getting anything here on the mountain besides those silver arrows. Which is not the end of the world. I mean, we do still have Palace of Darkness to clean up. That will unlock Pyramid Fairy as well. And like I said, we have a full clearable Ice Palace whenever our runners decide to commit to doing that without the Kingdom of Samaria. And Swigo's just going to go ahead and hop into Spike Cave. Besides Ether Tablet and Turtle Rock, this is the only thing left here on the mountain that we can for us, so... Oh, no! Wait, does Swaggle just have a fairy? Yes, okay, he does. I was gonna say, could have just, you know, been a little bit more conservative. There's the Cane of Samaria. Very nice. So that is actually gonna be Go Mode for both of our... Oh no, not for both of our runners. Looks like Lyctanzi left the mountain. Oh no. That is gonna be Go Mode for Swigalicious, if I'm not mistaken, at the 1 hour and 10 minute mark. And Lyctanzi unfortunately choosing to leave behind Spike Cave. I mean, not the worst idea. I mean, you're on the right side of the mountain, you have to dash all the way over there. It's not the fastest check in the world, but I think that kind of, I hate to say it, but I think that kind of, that one decision just sealed the outcome of this race. As Swigalicious just needs to go and, you know, defeat 5 bosses, and then do GT and Aga. Lyctanzi gonna be hunting around for that King of Samaria in all of these dungeons, and that's gotta suck. I think the only thing that can really save Lyctanzi here is if they find... I mean, I say save, but I honestly think this is going to be too far to come back from. But I hope that Lyctanzi finds the book at some point to you know, open up Ether Tablet and make them consider comboing Ether Tablet plus Spike Cave together. But that's the only thing that can really push them towards it at this point, because they've done everything else on the mountain, and Turtle Rock is not going to be an incentive at all, because of course we can't do anything in Turtle Rock without the Kingdom of Samaria, so really unfortunate. Okay, Swigalicious just making their way through Misery Mire as Lyctanzi gives us a hookshot clip. And yeah, Swigalicious is gonna be cruising. The Vidwraith fight is not anything to be afraid of here, as we have silver arrows on hand. So they're probably feeling great about this, having Go Mode in an all dungeon seed so early. They just have to, you know, go and breeze through all these dungeons, and having that big key already on hand for Misery Mire was kind of the icing on the cake. They're gonna get to Go Mode, Ice Palace, Turtle Rock, and Swamp Palace, and that's gotta feel really good. And on the other side for Lyctanzi, I mean, you might be thinking like, oh, why did they not check, you know, take the time to do that one check in Spike Cave, you know, that's seems really, when you look at it in this situation, like, it seems like, oh no, why would they do that? But there's plenty of other universes where there was just nothing there in Spike Cave, and you saw that Lyctanzi was actually, you know, behind Swigalicious, and if, you know, Swigalicious spends that time on Spike Cave and Lyctanzi doesn't, that's their way to keep this race competitive and gain back that time, so unfortunately that's just not the world we live in. So Swigalicious just gets to finish all these dungeons in whatever order they want, pretty much. Choosing to do Swamp Palace. Not really any consideration for what dungeons they should do in one order at this time, as they're in Go Mode and they already have Tempered Sword and Silver, so really not going to be looking for anything. So Lyctanzi, on the other hand, yeah, Looks like they elected to skip left side swamp. They did find the big key in the diver down room, I believe. Nice silver arrow shot to Argus. Looks like they're gonna have 2 items left outstanding in Swamp Palace, I believe, if I'm seeing things correctly. 2 or 3? Looks like actually 3 by their tracker, unless it hasn't been updated. Yeah. I was gonna say if there's 3. Oh no, it is only 2 items. They are deciding to go back in here. Let's see. So if you're in Lactanzi's shoes, you have 3 items in Ice Palace, 1 item on Helmasaur. You have Pyramid Fairy. And that's kind of it, right? We have, like, I guess Graveyard Ledge and Magic Bat and Hammer Pegs and K45. Those are all kind of, like, scattered around. Yeah, so doing left side swamp here for 2 items doesn't seem that bad. And Swagalicious, yeah, just skipping past all of these chests. The only thing that can really help Swagalicious here is, I guess, Gold Sword or the Magic Cape, which is, of course, the best item in the game, but, yeah, I fully agree with the decision to just not open any chests at this point. You've got everything that you need to go fast. Okay, Lactanzi's showing that they know how to route Swamp Palace the second time through. So electing not to do the dive down glitch, as they don't need that key. You're just walking around, as that is going to be slightly faster. Swaggle is just going to be taking down all these puffs around Argus. Having a little bit of trouble getting this last one. Yeah, sometimes you have to maneuver yourself around. There you go. And misses that silver arrow shot twice. Gets it on the 3rd time, though. I've actually seen quite a number of runners in this tournament miss that silver arrow setup on Argus. I think having some sort of consistent visual cue really helps for that one. And yeah, nothing in left side swamp for Lactanzi. So I imagine they're going to check a 45 question mark? Okay, this is just straight to Ice Palace. I mean, I guess you can check K45 when you're checking, I guess after checking Magic Bat and, what's it called? Hammer Pegs? They like to grab this bottle from Lake Hylia. Interesting, would not have expected that, but I guess you have to mirror to the Light World to get to Ice Palace anyway, so it only costs you a few seconds. Okay, both of our runners in Ice Palace, but of course, Swagalicious not having to search for any items in here. Oh, I see the bomb selected by Swagalicious. Are we going to see some bomb strats? Oh, of course not, because they don't need to check the chest and get a room. I was getting all excited because they switched to bombs, but yeah, they don't have to check that anyways. Lactanzi just using the kind of more standard classical double spin setup with Tempered Sword. And Swagalicious is going to hit that Crystal Switch, as that is definitely the fastest way to route through Ice Palace if you are just concerned about beating the boss. Lactanzi also going to choose to hit the switch. And that, of course, is because they have to, because they don't have the Kingdoms of Samaria. That should not be a surprise. Okay, I know how to play this game. So Lactanzi is going to be showing us the Ice Palace bomb jump. I feel like sometimes nowadays this almost feels like a rare trick to see, because So often runners are trying to put off Ice Palace as long as possible in hopes of getting the game Samaria, because it does make it a lot faster. Unfortunately, Swagglish is forgetting that they do need this small key to proceed. So, gonna lose a little bit of time there, but not the end of the world. And very nice first try Ice Palace Bomb Jump by Lectanzi. Okay, Swagglish is in this kind of sliding lonely firebar ice room. Nice use of the boots there. And Lectanzi gets a Spin Slash and all those Pengators. And unfortunately, Lectanzi without a small key on hand is going to have to go north here. A little bit of slower route, but is going to be pretty much forced if you don't have a key on hand. I mean, not literally forced. There are other ways you could route this, but this is kind of the recommended way to route this dungeon when you don't have the key on hand. Alright, Swagglish is entering the fight with Cold Stare. 8 Fire Rod shots to melt the first phase. Setting up for Spin Slash. Unfortunately, doesn't get the timing on that, but is going to have plenty of Fire Rod shots. Needs to be a little bit careful here. Swagglicious. Rolling out 3 hearts. Yeah, missing that initial spin just really throws the fight off, so it's very important to have a consistent visual cue for that initial setup. But Swagglicious finishes the fight just fine. I imagine I have to imagine they're probably feeling pretty good about all this, right? It's not like Swagglicious really made any decisions throughout the course of the seed that didn't really pay off, right? I think the one thing that could have really gone better was potentially going to Misery Mire as the first thing in the Dark World for both of these runners. Oh no, Lectanzi. Oh, okay, Lectanzi did keep the right thing. Kind of an awkward situation, juggling a fairy and a bee together. Yeah, but I was going to say, for both of these runners, I do think if they had fluted to Mire Shed as the first thing in the Dark World, it would have led to a little bit of a better route, as they'd been able to grab their bow from there and then clear Eastern. And I guess it wouldn't have mattered actually that much in the grand scheme of things. Because they'd probably not want to dive into Palace of Darkness just yet, so yeah, I guess it didn't end up mattering that much. Because Palace of Darkness is really where we needed to go for a Fire Rod. Okay, Lectanzi still has 1 item left, unfortunately. So, I didn't actually see what was in the big chest. Was it just a map or a compass? Is that why? Sometimes it can be hard to route through Ice Palace the optimal way. But unfortunately, it has to take the long way around to Ice Tea Chest. This is one of the disadvantages of having to do the Ice Palace Bomb Jump versus being able to just do the Samaria Icebreaker Clip. But yeah, usually it does save you time on average to do the big chest first and hope that your last item is there, but if it's just a map or a compass, then you have to go all this way to Ice Tea, unfortunately. And Swagglicious, on the other side, is making their way to Helm of Sword. Very nice turtle room. Okay, almost very nice turtle room there. I spoke a little bit too soon. Almost gets it all done before any of the turtles can flip back over. That's what you want, ideally, but misses it just by a little bit. Okay, and Lectanzi entering their Cold Stare fight. Let's see if they can do a little bit better with that timing of that first spin to separate these puffs here. Nice, gets it. Gets tagged by that by those ice particles, but not a big deal. I'm surprised they didn't take that opportunity while all the puffs were clumped together to use their Fire Rod, but I'd like to save their magic here, actually. The fight's going to take a little bit longer on Lectanzi's side because of that. You know, Tempered Sword Slashes do only do half the damage of a Fire Rod shot, but they're their cutscene here, the refill cutscene here after grabbing the pendant is going to be a little bit faster as they don't have to wait for all of that magic to refill. And Swagalicious is done with Palace of Darkness, just needs to go up to Turtle Rock now, just blazing through these dungeons one after another. And like Tonzi, this is time for Palace of Darkness, actually. Yeah, I'm really surprised like Tonzi didn't... I'm surprised both our players actually didn't elect to do Palace of Darkness and the Helm of Sword check earlier. Like I said, it can't really it's not really going to be any more efficient. And we know that the Kingdom of Somaria isn't here, of course, but like, you know, in a theoretical world where like Tonzi finds the Kingdom of Somaria here, they're gonna feel really silly, right? That they left this behind, and they could have had it to do Ice Palace and Go Mode Swamp Palace and all that. So, but that is not the seed that we were playing. So, like Tonzi just gonna go ahead and finish Helmsor, and unfortunately, gonna have to continue searching for the Kingdom of Somaria. Nice hook speed by Swagalicious. That one can be a tricky one because it can be difficult to step into that portal while you're in the super speed state. Okay, and like Tonzi showing off a nice hammer dash to get both of those pots in one go. Swagalicious, of course, is in go mode, but still does need to check all three of these chests in the front of Turtle Rock, as you're going to need the big key as well as some small keys to get through the dungeon. Is going to set up for a Burna dash through these rollers, or just a Burna activation and then a dash. Excuse me. 2 small keys already, nice. Okay, and let's see how like Tonzi does with this turtle room. Unfortunately misses one of them. Can't tell if that was because of misspacing, or sometimes the turtles just give you an awkward RNG where they move a little bit too far away. Looks like Swagalicious found bottle number 4 in Turtle Rock. Okay, and like Tonzi electing to hold their sword out to make the Helm Sword fight just a little bit easier. Oh, actually doesn't. I wonder if this is a spin speed setup. So if you arm spin speed, it actually, I guess, disjoints your hammer hitbox a little bit. Yeah, it looks like that is what they elected to do. So nice piece of tech by like Tonzi. It's not something you see every day, especially from the mentees in this tournament, but that is something that can help, especially if you're using the hammer for Phase 2 of Helmasaur. I know like Tonzi was just using a Silver Arrow, which is definitely going to be faster, but if you're having to use the hammer for Phase 2, using that spin speed trick can definitely make it a lot easier in terms of disjoining that hitbox a little bit more. Swagalicious gonna actually check this chest. I guess being a little bit conservative in terms of the... Oh, never mind. That's of course, they not being conservative. They are being level-minded and realizing, unlike me, that they do not have a big key yet. So we'll see if Swagalicious chooses to check the big chest. I believe with a single key on hand at this point, it's reasonable to not check the big chest, and it looks like they are going to skip it. I think if you don't have a single small key on hand, it is not recommended to skip that, but I admittedly have not done the math on that myself. Okay, so like Tonzi, Becking Magic Bat here. A bit surprised they didn't choose to head to the Dark World first and check it along with Hammer Pegs. But maybe they're hoping to, maybe they're hoping to just do the fastest check possible, just from the get-go. Lictanzi? Is this what I think it is? Looks like we're seeing a pedestal pull from Lictanzi. This is spicy. Unfortunately, we know that it's not going to be anything. I guess it could be the book. Or a sword. I mean, we have all 3 pendants, so might as well give it a check on the way to the Dark World portal. Just a piece of heart, unfortunately. And Swagalicious finds their key in Laser Bridge, so they are good to go to Trinex. Now remember, Lictanzi really just needs to grab that Cane of Samaria from Spike Cave. Swagalicious having a little bit of trouble with this room. Okay, gets it okay. And it's a tough sell for Lictanzi because Spike Chest, you could see it on their tracker. It's the only green square up on the mountain right now. So why I'm kind of hoping that they run into the book soon, as it'll at least put another green square next to it, but yeah, it just really sucks for them right now. They're not going to hard last location it, I don't think, because you know, they've still got some other more ugly location. Well, actually, I don't know. I think the Big Chest of Thieves Town is probably an uglier location, but there's the Magic Cape. We've already checked Umber Cave Ledge, so that's not relevant logically, but we'll allow for some nice keep strats, Lictanzi knows how to do those. Yeah, but I imagine Lictanzi, if you're in Lictanzi's shoes, I think after doing if you're doing Hammer Pegs here, you do K45 and then Pyramid Fairy. I hope they don't go for Thieves Town Big Chest here. It's not unreasonable though, but it looks like they're at least skipping it right now, which is good. I do feel like, as Lictanzi, like, the more... There is an element of, like, the longer you spend looking for something, the more you kind of want to just, like... Oh no, why is that there? Okay, sure. I was gonna say, like, the longer you spend looking for something and the more wrong choices you make as far as where that item is, the more you kind of want to just make a play into, like, the worst location possible, because, you know, you might think, okay, my opponent might have made different choices, and if I search any of these other, you know, easy overworld checks that I haven't been to, my opponent could have already checked those, so I might want to, like, take a gamble on something really gross like Thieves Town Big Chest, which is likely to have been skipped. But unfortunately, Lictanzi gets another fetch quest to deal with in the Mushroom, and Swagalicious finds the big key in Hope Room, so very short Ganeth Tower basement for our runners today, or at least for Swagalicious. I believe Lictanzi does usually check Hope Room first as well. I hope they do in this seed as... I hope that they also do that in this seed. Alright, and yeah, I have to imagine for Lictanzi, Pyramid Fairy is looking pretty appealing. And looks like we're seeing that right now. So I think after Pyramid Fairy, that's probably going to be the time for Lictanzi to make the call to do Spike Cave and get the unfortunate news that their cane has been there the whole time. Nice burn dash by Swagalicious across the Cannonball Bridge. And he is going to start his Ganon's Tower Gauntlet. Only has 2 hearts left, 1 heart left. I hope they have... I know they have some potions. I'm assuming they also have a fairy on hand, otherwise they wouldn't be hanging around here on just 1 heart. I almost wonder if it would be better for them to just drink a potion? just in case you get hit. Like, the fairy animation, it is a little bit slow. Ooh, nice shot with that arrow. And misses that Zazak with the dash. Can't believe he got out of that room unscathed. Very nice hook speed by Lectanzi to get into that Pyramid Fairy check as fast as possible. And Swagalicious taking a hit, but still staying at 1 heart thanks to Blue Mail. I'm gonna grab that fairy. Okay, we've got some Mario strats on deck for Lambo 2. This is something I'm seeing more and more from runners. Oh, doesn't get it. Doesn't get the 1 cycle though. Unfortunate. When I first saw this strat, I swear it was like meme status, but if you're gonna spend some extra time in the previous room to grab that fairy, it is a useful strategy to have on deck, assuming you can do it consistently. And Nightonzi is going to be heading to Spike Cave. So not a hard last location, but close to it, unfortunately. The only other thing they could have checked was these down big chests, so definitely doesn't feel good on Nightonzi's side. But they are gonna save and quit. I actually wonder if it would have been... Oh yeah, because they haven't... What am I talking about? They haven't done Naga yet. Swagalicious waiting for this torch to go out, yanking on that other one. I will say, if you ever run into that situation, you can actually just exit and enter this room. The room on the left is on a different super tile, I believe, so it will actually reset the torches. Not sure if that would have been faster or not, but... Okay, so Lectanzi, I'm gonna need to go ahead and finish Misery Mire as well as Turtle Rock. Unfortunately, is gonna need to search for the big key in here. And so I was just gonna... Okay, not gonna open this chest. I was wondering about that. Okay, there's one spin against Moldorm, and narrowly avoids getting hit there. But takes down the Moldorm refight. Lectanzi... Let's see how they decide to route this. Looks like they are going to hit the Crystal Switch, and unfortunately for them, they're going to check... it looks like they're electing to check Cutscene Chest last. And we already know that the big key is there, so it looks like they're going to... Last location their big key, unfortunately. This is usually a good strategy, but because Cutscene Chest is the slowest of these checks to do, but you're gonna go to the map chest first and then learn that their big key is waiting for them at Cutscene Chest. And Swagalicious just finishes the Aga 2 fight. Of course, before dropping down to Ganon, needs to remember that they do have to do beat Aghanim 1 first. Hopefully remembers that they need to walk down a little bit before mirroring, otherwise you're going to bonk. There we go, very nicely done. And climbing castle towers are always... I won't say it's incredibly boring, but it's certainly trivial once you have all of your Go mode equipment. You know, you've got Tempered Sword, you've got Silvers, you can kind of just clear these rooms however you want. Okay, there is that big key for Lectanzi. Swagalicious getting a little bit bullied by these blue guards. Got hit by, I think, every single blue guard there, actually, in the in the maze. And let's see if Lectanzi elects to set up for a spooky action glitch here. Looks like they're trying to go for it. looked like the right setup. We'll see if they manage to get it right in this next room here. Ooh, that was a very nice room by Swagalicious. Looking like an NMG runner there. And some nice spooky action tech by Lectondi to hit the crystal switches from off-screen. Misses that last one. I imagine it's probably gonna take a hit here? Yeah, you want to take a hit there. And Lectonzi also going to have the silver arrows on deck for this fight. Fast enough, you can actually get a zero cycle, so that's where Vitreous never actually emerges to shoot lightning. Looks like Lectonzi was just short of that. If they had just hit that one arrow instead of missing it, they would have had it, but only loses a few seconds. Very nice fight regardless. And they are going to be off to Turtle Rock. And oh, I was really confused why Lectondi didn't have the blue mail yet, but they do. It's just I forgot that Lectondi uses a different sprite actually. So you'll see you can confirm on their tracker that they do actually have the blue mail on hand. It's just their sprite doesn't change clothing color when you get blue mail. And Swagalicious entering what is probably the easiest boss fight in the game, right before they enter what is probably the hardest boss fight in the game, which is Ganon. Swagalicious living up to his name, trying to do some bug net hits here, and finishes off Aga with the bug net. I'll say that's definitely swag. And is going to drop into his Ganon fight here. It's going to be 12 hits with the Tempered Sword for phase 1. Looks like they're setting up for a double spin hit here. Only gets one hit there, so they're not going to be able to do a 1 cycle here. They're going to have to take a 2 cycle on phase 1. Does have Ganon in kind of the easy mode corner here, so can just line up double spin hits here. And if they want to, they can either take a hit on the way out, or use the cape, or Burna. Yep, looks like they're electing to use Burna. Rare footage of the fast ROM version of the game lagging, thanks to all the fire bats in the Cane of Burna. Pretty good phases 1 and 2. Aside from missing the double spin hit there in phase 1. And a very nice cape dash by Lectonzi there. Okay, just one more. That's phase 3 down for Swagalicious, so just 4 silver hits away from taking this. Okay, he has to settle for a single hit there. Might be able to set up a double here. And very nice way to finish the fight. And that is going to be a GG for Swagalicious, who finishes this all dungeon seed with a very respectable time of 1 hour, 42 minutes, and 49 seconds. Alright, Lectonzi is going to make their way through the rest of Turtle Rock here. Their first job is to remember that they don't have the big key yet, and not steal the Poke Key. Some nice knowledge, grabbing the arrow drop from that middle pot. I mean, 10 silvers is probably enough for the rest of the game, but we might need some extra ones for, you know, Ice Armos. I do believe the NMG route may also collect those arrows underneath that pot. Actually, I shouldn't actually claim to know anything about that because I don't run an MG. And does remember to grab the big key here. Has to think for a few seconds. Oh, this might be... Okay, I assume this is Lectanzi having the race time room open, so we'll see. They are going to play on, yeah, that's what I thought. Either they had to stop for something, or they might have just wished Swagalicious a good game and a good victory if they did have the race time room opened. Alright, looks like we are going to see the rest of this seed play out. And Lectanzi also electing to skip the big chest. Good choice. And also remember to hit the crystal switch on the way out of that previous room, which will allow them to do this fast strat here. Very nice. It's something that's very hard for me personally to remember, as it only applies when you're in go mode in Turtle Rock, but very nice for Lectanzi to remember that. And Lectanzi is going to need to find that small key. It is in the second chest here in Laser Bridge. No sense in checking any other chests. And making good use of that mirror shield to make things trivial here. And it's headed to their fight with Trinex. Oh, I hate that Helmsaur Beetle. I do believe Swagalicious used a silver arrow before their dash down to take out that mini Helmsaur. And yeah, I like that because so that mini Helmsaur has ruined my day more than once. Okay, setting up for a Samaria dash here, very nice. Besides stopping to powder that anti-fairy, definitely got through that room a little bit faster than Swagalicious. And now setting up for our Trinex fight. It's going to be 5 slashes for each head. Very nice. And even with the dash over the right side, I like that. Ooh, unfortunately gets just short of getting a 1 cycle there. Had to wait for the head to extend an extra time. And gets pretty good phase 2 as well. Already has the hook shot equipped so that they can set up a hook speed on the way out of Turtle Rock on the way to Ganon's Tower. Yeah, I have to say, as we, continue to watch Lectanzi as they head over to Ganon's Tower, I have to say, I think in Game 2 as well, Lectanzi and Swagalicious kind of not showing that much divergence as far as, early and mid-game routing goes, and then I think in both games 3 and 2, I think, from what I remember, there was just like one decision that kind of just like split everything wide open, and both of the runners kind of on the same wavelength until then. I was actually surprised at how I guess in the early game, they did choose to do different things. Lectanzi choosing to put off the front escape, which, in a different seed could have had a big impact. So there was definitely opportunity for divergence there. Just happened that the items didn't really swing that way, and even though they did things in a different order, they ended up getting funneled to kind of the same checks, and I think that was really a function of getting Lectandi choosing a different strategy than Swagalicious. I think Swagalicious actually continued one room forward. Looks like Lectanzi is going to be content to climb with just a single small key, as you can collect another key on the way during the climb in the mini Helm's Orbino room. Nice use of the mirror shield there. Okay, nice job in Mimics 1. Ooh, and that was a very clean Mimics 2. Nice job, Lectanzi. But yeah, back to what I was saying, I think the fact that both of our runners kind of got funneled into the same place was just a function of, you know, we had to get funneled into Misery Mire at some point because our mirror was in Misery Mire and our hammer was in Checkerboard Cave. So even though, you know, you took different paths to get there, at the end of the day, like, there was only so much we can do without having those two crucial items. And once we did have those, we had kind of everything else we needed, I feel like. We had, what was it? I forget where the hook shot was. It was in, I forget already. But once we got those, I guess we could do. I'm surprised neither of our runners decided to do Pulse of Darkness a little bit earlier. But once we got the hammer and the mirror, you know, both of our owners decided to go up the mountain, actually. So on the same wavelength. And we had the equipment to do everything we needed, including Hera and... oh yeah, the hookshot was in the Tower of Hera, right before we needed it for Herabot. We had everything we needed, and it was just that one decision to leave behind Spike Cave by Lectanzi. That just kind of threw everything off. Kind of a shame, though. Kind of a shame as well, because, like, it would have been a little bit boring on the one hand to see both of our runners just, like, hit go mode and basically have no decisions for both of them from there on out, but it also would have been exciting in a way to see both these runners find that Kame Samari and both be in go mode and just have it down to a pure, you know, execution contest at that point. And yeah, I kind of wonder in that world who would have taken it, but of course we'll never know, I guess. I do think Swagalicious was ahead coming out of the mountain checks. So he would have had a slight lead on Lectanzi, but yeah, it's hard to say. So Lectanzi's gonna need to collect the small key here. Nice job remembering. And is going to powder both of these here. It starts with a nice slash. Unfortunately, just gets knocked off right off the bat. Let's see if we can do a little bit better on this refight. Okay, sees the opportunity and goes for it. Very nice, very clean. Can only assume that the book is somewhere else here in Ganon's Tower. I'd have to guess. Alright, here's our fight with Aga 2. How well can we reflect these projectiles? Nice. I'm not sure if that counted for all three. Sometimes if two hits are spaced too close together, it only counts as a single. It doesn't do so good on that second pattern. Nice. Very nice double on that one. Oh, almost had that. Yeah, that should be it. Yeah, almost got away with one less cycle on Agatu there. Very close. So Lectanzi is going to have to do the Aga Tower climb, and then we'll be able to take down Ganon himself. Looks like, based on their tracker, Lectanzi has both a green and a red potion, as well as 2 fairies, so really should have no trouble with Ganon at all. Assuming they remember to keep playing the game. Alright. Let's go do Aga. Yeah, and props also to Lectanzi finishing out the seed. I don't know whether or not they already know that their opponent has finished for sure or not, but regardless, props on them for finishing this seed. I know it's definitely a little bit of a longer one, considering it's all dungeons, and it took us a long time to get back to Spike Cave. But never get better if you don't, play through the rest of the game. Okay, into this kind of dark pit room. This is probably the hardest room in Aghanim's Tower if you don't have a lamp, but of course, that's not a problem for us. But that is probably the one room that I would say really prevented our runners from doing the thing that I was saying was a possibility earlier, where, after... what was it? They could have done Aghanim's Tower earlier to get easier access to Pyramid Ledge and Palace of Darkness, but don't really know if it would have actually ended up helping that much in the grand scheme of things after all. All right, nice silver arrow shot to take care of that guard. And we're off to fight Aghanim again. Yeah, both of these runners definitely playing a good game this seed. Of course, unfortunate that the game was just kind of decided just by a single decision, but I will say a lot of seeds do kind of work out that way if you kind of think about them in retrospect. It's just not always as obvious as this one. There's a number of other potential seeds where, Cane of Samaria is not in Spike Cave, but then skipping it versus getting it does actually, end up winning or losing Lifetime of Grace, so... And, yeah, I will say, at some point, in order to reduce your times, you have to be willing to leave some items behind at some point. You have to be willing to leave some checks behind. Catfish is a perfect example of that in terms of a check that, yeah, if you're at Pyramid Ledge, you might think like, this is my best chance to go to Catfish, but if you don't have the boots on hand, it does take a while to walk over there, so a lot of people will just say, screw it, I'm going to save my time here, and if there's nothing at Catfish and my opponent goes there, I just gain a bunch of time, and unfortunately, if my required progression is at Catfish, it's a pretty good chance that I will maybe last location that. Anyways, Lectanzi is setting up, already got the one cycle on phase 1, and looks like they got the one cycle on phase 2, so definitely doing a little bit better in Scandifite than Swagalicious. Didn't miss that initial double spin. Phase 3 is just going to be easy as you just wait for Ganon to stop teleporting. Ganon. There we go. And looks like Lectanzi has their lamp out, so I can only assume that they're going to set up for a torch glitch to make Phase 4 a little bit easier. Okay, never mind. Not going to do the torch glitch, which is totally fine. It's actually a little bit more optimal if you set it up correctly. Oh, might be able to get a double hit here. Very nice, and just needs one more silver arrow. There it is. And that is going to be a GG for Lectanzi, finishing with a time still under 2 hours, just 1 hour, 59 minutes, and looks like 38 seconds. So GG's to both of these runners. This does conclude their best of 3 series, and you can see Swagalicious has taken the 3rd place victory in this best of 3 with that win over Lectanzi. But both these runners definitely having a good showing across all 3 of these games. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this entire series on my YouTube channel, and hopefully you appreciated some of this commentary, I hope. Again, my name is Year Kirby, and as far as an update on the Go Mode the rest of the Mentor Tournament, as far as the other brackets, we do have our finals matches in each of the 4 brackets, the Gold Sword, Tempered Sword, Master Sword, and Fighter Sword brackets. I do believe the finals matches are starting to kick off, so including the Gold Sword final match, which will determine the overall first place winner of the entire tournament. So you'll definitely not want to miss those if you're interested in catching them. Be sure to tune into the Go Mode Podcast Twitch channel or the Go Mode Podcast Discord to see when those matches are going to happen. I do believe one of them is happening in less than 24 hours, I want to say. So I think in a little over 12 hours from this recording. So definitely be sure to check those out. I can only assume that there's going to be some very exciting races and high-level play there. And yeah, if you enjoyed watching this match in particular, definitely go ahead and give these 2 runners a follow. These runners are probably going to be taking a well-deserved break after having done all 6 weeks of Swiss pairings, as well as having made it all the way to the semifinals of the bracket stages. But that is going to do it for today. Again, I want to thank you for watching and hope that you have a good rest of your day, evening, or afternoon, whatever it may be where you are. And thank you for watching.